This is Spirit of Sport with
Shannon Spencer
and Kelsey Davis. Join us as we explore the spiritual life, leadership, and sports. Our hope is to offer bread for your journey, wherever you are. In this episode, we will explore the word compete. So Shannon, one of my favorite words is compete. And I don't know about you, but I'm a very competitive person, whether it's, checkers or, as an athlete. I'm curious, when you hear the word compete, what has society told you about competition? In this country, in the United States of America?
That winners are better. And if I lose, I'm a failure or I didn't do something right. And that my opponent is the person in the other uniform.
And we know that, at least in this country, the United States of America, I live here, I'm a citizen resident here, so I can't speak, to other places. But what my experience as part of this society here in this country is that it is bred on competition. And that I've been told that the word compete actually is synonymous with scarcity. Mm-hmm. That we got to climb over each other. We have to dominate each other in order to get ahead and access the resources that I need for my life or my family needs to survive. I actually looked up the Latin of the word compete. I'm kind of a word nerd, hence this podcast. And the Latin, actually, if you separate the cum and then the Latin for compete, it means to strive together or to seek and aim together. And so if we look at the word compete as a striving together, that changes everything. Mm-hmm. That asks completely different questions. In 1 Corinthians, Paul talks about, he uses actually an athletic metaphor that, we're all running this race but we're striving towards a crown that lasts forever. And he talks about this sort of kingdom mentality, kingdom prize. So I'm curious, when you hear that, what are we striving together for? What is the kingdom prize that we're after as Christians sitting here in this room?
For the healing of the nations, the commonwealth of God, that all might be able to participate and thrive in God's abundance.
I love that. I think about the proverb also, this ancient wisdom that iron sharpens iron. So, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. And so rather than thinking about competition as dominion or dominance and scarcity over someone else, what if, using Paul's metaphor of the running, we're sort of shoulder to shoulder running together, sharpening one another in the wisdom of the proverb to be our best, more truest selves, that as I offer myself in competition with you, I bring forward my best gifts, my best efforts, but I'm doing so in a way that is trying to also make you enhanced and better too, that we're sharpening each other as we both show up together and give our very best efforts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that, excuse me, I think part of it is where our starting point is. If our starting point is that everybody who, let's use the athletic metaphor of everybody's on the soccer field. If everybody on the soccer field is a beautiful and beloved child of God, then that sets the framework of what we are all striving to do. If instead our starting point is we don't really know who we are until the contest is over, and either we're going to be winners or losers. That's a different fight. That's a different competition. And so for me, it comes down to an identity. Are we going to know who we are based on our Creator? Or are we going to know who we are based on what we're not? Which fundamentally pits us against somebody who is different. And then I have to be better than my understanding of God becomes what then God is made in my image. It's not a far cry from or far leap from, well, if my understanding of God is based on the fact that I'm a winner, based on the fact that I'm a great athlete, based on the fact that I have white skin, based on the fact that I'm straight, based on the fact that, X, Y, and Z, all these external, really, criteria, then when one of those things goes away, then I start to panic because I don't know what my relationship with God is. And so my fight is to keep myself in understanding and right relationship with God, but that's based on somebody else staying out of the fold. Me having to step on them. I'm having to draw the line and you're not accepted at the table, because it really has nothing to do with them, but it's because I have pitted my understanding of my relationship with God on X, Y, and Z identity. And as a winner of what that competition is, if my competition is another one of my siblings, then I think we're setting that framework up in a way that we all end up as losers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. It's so profound and counter-cultural in so many ways to, I think, dominant culture in this country, I should say. And also in sport, too, because only one person or one team gets to stand up on the podium at the end of the day. And so, I've always like wondered and wrestled with, can I both, as a Christian athlete, can I both sort of hold this disposition of everyone's a beloved child of God and I'm bringing myself almost as an offering, and still be, a fierce and, have all the emotions that come with competition and still want to get the gold medal or get first place? Can we hold all that together? Is that okay?
I want to believe so.
I
Yes,
hope so,
I hope
right?
so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a game, right? And what we learn from it is the meaning that we take. I mean, I know, hopefully I'm not the only person, but when I stopped playing competitive basketball, I lost myself. I struggled with who I was because that had been who I was. That is how I knew my worth. That is how I understood who I was in the world. That is what I had to give. And then that pathway was no longer there, and there's a struggle. And so it really is, for me, I think we can absolutely hold the both and, but the underpinning has to be something more than the game. It's something more profound, and if the game is a way that we grow and that we learn and we continue showing up to promote what it means to care for one another and to encourage one another and to have joy in life, then heck yeah, I'm all for it. I'll talk as much smack on the field and on the court as the next person, probably more. But at the end of the day, it's not the end all be all. It's not what I'll rise and fall on. That's my God and my siblings and creation. That actually is the container that holds the ways that I show up.
Amen. And I'll just add before we close out this episode that my daughter just started playing soccer and she's 2.5. It was the most profound and beautiful thing to watch her with children from all across our city, all sorts of different demographic makeups, identity markers, And one of the core principles of her entering sport is the celebration of others. So she brings her skill, her best self, and then the expectation is she's turning around and celebrating others. And I think about this container that sport can hold of competition, of actually the striving together, the seeking together. And what if it's framed as an offering of ourselves that's vulnerable, that allows us to experience joy, for our hearts to break wide open, for our hearts to be disappointed, and to experience the full spectrum of what it feels like to be human through sport. And though the striving for that, when we compete as iron sharpens iron, we're actually acknowledging our deep connection to each other. And so we strive together, and that we use our sweat equity, if you will, as a way for us to acknowledge our deep interconnectedness and our interbeing with all that is.
Yes.
So as we close out this episode, we invite you to consider what you just heard. What might be stirring in you? Notice it and hold whatever it is gently. Welcome a few deeper than normal breaths. Inhale, breathing in deeply. Exhale, allowing the breath to travel down and out. All the love, my friends. Blessings. Spirit of Sport podcast is made possible by Christian Athlete Circles, a ministry that builds beloved community with and for athletes of all backgrounds. To learn more about our people and our work, follow us on Instagram at Christian Athlete Circles and visit us online at christianathletecircles.org. We greatly appreciate the Center for Contemplative Justice for their support of this ministry, and thank Jay Ragsdale for creating our lovely theme music. We also acknowledge that this podcast was recorded in Asheville, North Carolina on Indigenous land. We remember and honor all Indigenous people of the world. We especially recognize the Eastern Band of Cherokee, whose land that we now occupy in this region was systematically taken from them, and who are still present and making home on this land today. We acknowledge that no one person or organization is perfect, and ask for your help in calling us to improve our service as instruments of justice and peace for all people in today's world. To this end, please feel free to submit any comments and feedback on how we can better serve you. Christian Athlete Circles seeks to build up beloved community, takes up the work of dismantling systemic oppression manifested in all isms and phobias, and joins in the equitable repairing and healing of our world. May we always remember that the earth does not belong to us, that we belong to the earth as equal and uniquely gifted parts of creation. Thanks for listening and supporting our work.